Yeah, absolutely no experience. We were not part of the ecosystem at all. I think one of my favorite moments was when we went to boot camp, to one of the earlier sessions, and on several occasions, people almost literally just said, "Where did you guys pop up from?" Frio, what? Hi, I'm Emma. I'm the co-founder of the Ladies Project and mmmEnglish. I am originally from Victoria, from Melbourne, and I've been living in Perth for almost 9 years now, since 2012. English is an online publishing company. We help students around the world who are learning English as a second language. Primarily, we do that through our YouTube channel, and through connecting with that audience and seeing the power of video and teaching in different formats and in different contexts. The opportunity for the Ladies Project evolved out of that. And so the Ladies Project is an online social networking platform for women learning English. We make it easy and affordable for women to meet and to connect and practice speaking English together in a really safe and supportive online space. The Ladies Project is imminently going through a name change and will soon be called Hey Lady. That's the name of our tech startup. So I started the YouTube channel in 2015, late 2015, while we were living in Vietnam. And since then, it's almost 6 years, coming up to 6 years, we have been on a roller coaster ride with seeing great growth and lots of amazing opportunities that have come out of that channel. The channel is currently at almost 4 million subscribers, which is pretty exciting. So I mentioned I was teaching. I studied and trained to be an English language teacher before I left Australia when we moved to Vietnam. And so I was teaching in a very traditional language school there. My students were mostly children, but I had one adult class, and the motivation behind starting the YouTube channel came from teaching that class. They would show up at 7 o'clock at night after working a full day and be completely exhausted, and they'd have to sit there in this classroom and study in a really traditional way with a textbook and flashcards and things like that. And I myself was also a newly trained teacher, so not a very traditional English teacher, but I was so frustrated with just this classroom context and wanted to introduce my students in Vietnam to what English is really like when you're sitting down for a meal with some other English speakers, when you are talking and describing food, and really food became this initial kind of central focus of the channel, because food is, no matter what language you speak, it is a way of bringing people together and a way of connecting and helping each other to feel comfortable. So that was where the channel started. I started just taking a little handy cam with me to restaurants, or when I ordered takeaway, I'd set it up and just talk about what I was eating, help students to sort of see how to interact with a waiter, how to chat with other people over a table at a restaurant. And it became a really kind of an experience, I guess, which is what I was trying to show them outside of the classroom. And quickly it became quite successful. I had no intention of anyone other than the few people in my class seeing it. And I think probably a few weeks went by and I looked again and there were 1,000 people who had subscribed. I was thinking, that's interesting and kind of creepy. Like, there's 1,000 people out there watching me eat dinner. But I thought, well, I guess it makes sense. There's a lot of, hunger, pardon the pun, hunger for amazing English lessons online, and to be able to get native English teachers to be sharing and talking about what happens around them in their lives, interacting with other English speakers in a really dynamic, real sort of way. No, actually, you just sparked a memory in my mind that I think it took me about 6 months to realize that you could turn on ad revenue and start generating what at the time was a very measly income. But even the concept of growing a business through this YouTube channel, it was just not on my radar initially. And I think that there were a couple of interesting, I guess, moments in the course of the next few years that could have ended up with me going back to a more traditional sort of working environment, or continue on this path. And I think naturally I'm not the biggest risk taker or the type of person who just will wing it and see what happens. And so a couple of those little moments in my life that sort of helped to shape some of those decisions and lead me on this path is, it's interesting to sort of to reflect on and to see that for me personally, it wasn't necessarily a deliberate, intentional plan, certainly not to get to where we are today. For me, my biggest why is connection. Language is an amazing tool for connecting with others and to connecting across cultures and, understanding differences, different perspectives, different opinions, different ideas. And that's the huge motivation behind the Ladies Project, Hey Lady. It's really about helping women to connect around the world, household to household, to break down some of those barriers, political, social, our understanding of different countries based on news media, and actually connecting with someone else in their house in Cairo or in Iraq or in South America, and finding out that actually we're very similar. We face the same challenges. We have the same dreams. We have the same desires for our children, for our families. And so it's that connection that is the huge motivation behind what we're building with Hey Lady. Our mission is to create 1 billion sparks, 1 billion meaningful conversations between women of different cultures. And that is what our team and I are hell-bent on achieving with Hey Lady. I think it was actually Shah who was starting to suss out and scope out a community. We've been to lots of like meetup.com things where, you're trying to connect with other business owners, and there's someone who's like, she runs her own waxing salon or something, and it's like, oh, it's not quite the same. I know we've all got challenges and things like that, but, this is, a different type of business and a very different environment to be working in and showing up to every day. Lots of different challenges. So Shah was looking for a community or a way to connect, had started going to some of the Space Cubed events and +8 sort of information things. And it was really him who convinced me to show up to that. But really, really glad that we did. So that drive to connect with others was part of the reason why we joined +8. We were very unsure about whether we even needed to take investment or wanted to take investment. And so the original motivation was just about connecting with others in the space. I think that going through the program created an amazing opportunity for us to really reposition and rethink the way that we operate as a team. It also really opened our eyes to what's actually required to scale and to create the growth that we were looking for. We've spent a lot of time over the last 5-6 years bootstrapping our way to where we are. And whilst there's a certain, I guess, badge of honor associated with that, our dreams and our ambitions were so much bigger than what we were really able to achieve on that current trajectory. So I think that the program itself really opened up an awareness to what really is required to scale and grow a company. It was incredible having not just the other startups around us who were in a similar space and position, but the mentors who joined us, the masterclasses that we had every week, really helped us to learn different elements or different aspects of what it really takes to be a startup founder, not just on a business sort of level, but also on a personal level. And there was a lot of personal growth and personal challenges that we overcame during the program as well.
Really good bits.
You could tell a story about how we don't need to go to San Francisco anymore. Like originally, right?
Yeah.
Were you guys going to go to San Fran?
Well, I was just thinking about that suggestion because that's actually part of the +8 program. But like previous years, you go to Singapore and then you go to San Francisco as well to meet, potential investors and others in the space. And it's always the highlight of the program. Though for us, we obviously didn't get to do that because it was COVID, and we were lucky to even be able to meet up in the same room for at least some of the program. But what that meant was our sort of trip away, bonding and opportunities to meet others, investors and other people in different cities around the world really became about doing that via Zoom. And I think that the opportunities that were previously only available to those who got to San Francisco, got to Singapore, or other big hubs, even Sydney and Melbourne, that's where the scene was, and that's where, you could really make your mark. It just doesn't exist in the same way anymore. And there's everything that we could possibly need to scale and grow our company, we can do right here from Fremantle. And I think that is one of the coolest things that's come out of 2020, right? Is you don't actually have to be anywhere else in the world. You can do everything from right here. I wouldn't say that I heard anything about Perth when I was over east. That's probably quite gutting to say, to hear. But I would say that the isolation factor, I know that a lot of people based in Perth are like, man, this place is so far away from anywhere. It's so hard to, we're in different time zones, or it takes so long to get, to New Zealand or to Sydney or whatever. But again, I think that the year that we've just been through has helped a lot of us to really appreciate the isolation and to not necessarily view that in a negative way. One thing I did notice when I first got here was something called the Perth click, which lots of people who move to Perth experience and go through. And that is really tight-knit groups of friends in pubs and restaurants or at the beach or whatever. Friends who went to high school together, had babies together, whatever. They're all, constantly connected throughout their lives. And it's really hard as an outsider to break into that. In Melbourne, where I'm from, I feel like it's much easier to just go to a pub, stand at the bar and have a chat to a random person, and they'll sit and talk to you for as long as they can. Whereas I find that quite different here in Perth. Though I would say that is starting to change a little, I've noticed. Like I mentioned earlier, Shah is really the entrepreneurial one in our relationship and in our business. And so if you ask the question to him, he would say, absolutely. He'd already have something in mind. I'm more like, why would I do that? No way. If I get this I'm getting this to the point where we are generating and creating a billion sparks among women of different cultures through conversation. If we reach that goal, I will pour myself a drink and congratulate myself and relax. That is absolutely what I would do. Yeah, I think if you're thinking about starting an online community or growing an online community, there are so many different ways that you can do that. But the most fundamental one, and the one that people often overlook and miss, is actually showing up and being present in that community. We can spend hours, days, weeks writing amazing copy for our websites, making a beautiful website, creating great posts and sharing them on all over social media. But if you're not actually in there, asking the questions, getting to know them, finding out what is the challenge that they have and how you can support them, providing them with the answers or potential solutions. If you're not willing to step into that community, get down to the grassroots level and really get to know them and engage with them, then that opportunity to create a thriving community is just not there, and it won't be there. It's one of the most fundamental things that, but every day people are overlooking it and not necessarily starting from that point. Starting a startup is a joke. I don't know. Not really. I'm Emma Jakobi, and this is Untitled.